We are live with a pre-Thanksgiving, completely unnecessary podcast for Wednesday, November 26, 2014, alongside Gobble Gobble Gobble, Ian Ferguson.
What the fuck?
I'm that country.
You already sound like you've eaten some turkey. You're all like, it's the podcast.
I got those hormones in me that just make you fall asleep.
the tryptophan.
Is that tryptophan? That's right.
It's the 26. We're doing some stuff.
So coming up on the show, we're talking about lots of goodness. Talking about the price matching fraud going on between the Amazon prices and people trying to get a PS4 for $90 at Walmart. The Jurassic World trailer came out. The Xbox One and PS4 turning 1 year old. Oh, it's one. Scalpers trying to buy and resell the Wii U GameCube controller adapters. Maybe some eBay shenanigans going on with big sellers of used video games. Activision issuing DMCA copyright strikes against Call of Duty exploit videos. Survivor Series talk wrestling. Your Q&A. So Ian, how are we doing? Got any plans for Thanksgiving?
I do. We're going to go over to Treg's place, and we are going to eat a lot of turkey, drink a lot of tiki drinks. So many tiki drinks. Treg transformed his entire garage into a tiki bar. And it's insane.
Now Treg is your boss?
Yes. Well, he's my friend. It's one of those things where it's like, how do you phrase it, you know? Friend boss.
Boss friend?
Frost. He's my Frost.
Friend?
But my boned friend. Bond. My bond. B-O-N-D.
You just said you boned Treg? Anyway.
My boned. Anyways, yeah, so he makes great drinks, and I used to always take sweet potato pies, but when Vani and I started seeing each other, we started getting tamales from the guy in her neighborhood. Him and his wife make these fantastic freaking tamales, and they sell them all year round, but they really go all out on the holidays. They usually
turkey tamale?
They usually like stuff like special things in them and whatnot, and we're taking like a dozen pork and green chili sauce ones and a dozen cheese and green chili. And the cheese, I am a meat eater, but man, those cheese and green chili tamales are just the best thing in the world. So I'm looking forward to it. Treg always does good mashed potatoes. He does a ham that he bastes an arrogant bastard ale by Stone Brewing, and it just caramelizes and comes out like super awesome.
It's sweet.
Yeah, and I just can't wait. So Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday, bar none.
Is it really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Halloween's mine.
Yeah.
Technically.
Bonnie one time had to deal with a drunken phone call, a series of drunken phone calls when I first met her. Surprisingly, she married me. I went home for Thanksgiving and got very drunk with my uncle on very old scotch, and called Bonnie and explained to her for 15 minutes about how Thanksgiving was my favorite holiday. So she always brings that up.
Actually, but it doesn't count though. Christmas Eve isn't the holiday itself.
I like Christmas Eve though.
But
it does count.
But it's the best meal of the year, the meal of the 7 fish. And the antipasta and the Italian pastries. So, I mean, I plan every June 25th, I say, this meal is 6 months away. I'm not even kidding.
I'm sorry. I'm still thinking to last night in the meatball.
Oh, okay. So basically, we're talking about that. But anyway, Thanksgiving, real quick. Thanksgiving is going to be me visiting a couple different places. You know, where you go to one person's place, you go to the other. Frank's making his, I guess, San Diego famous sweet potato pie. Frank is a really good cook.
Yeah, Frank's
by the way.
I can vouch for that.
Like, he'll just make, I made a chicken, but like he'll like marinate it and stuff like orange in it and have orange peel. And it's like the most delicious, succulent thing ever.
He'll talk about like he accidentally kicked it in the oven and it came out okay. It's like, fuck off, Frank. This is delicious.
It's like, I'll make some ribs. Yeah, he has a smoker that he throws them in the oven to top them off. They fall off the bone literally. Anyway, but last night we recorded almost non-drunkenly, but it might as well have been the Video Game Years Volume 2 DVD commentary with Joey DeSena Rue, and it's bizarre. It's like, I'd say for the first 20 minutes we kept up the feeling that we were actually trying to do this seriously,
right? And
then we just said, screw it, we're just gonna have inside jokes and go off on things, and then have cannibalistic theme run through.
I made cannibal jokes, I think, throughout the entire 82 episode, as many as I possibly could.
Pat, it started in 81 though. It was set up in 81. I set up in 81. I put on a T for you, and you sort of knocked it down for 82.
Pat made a lot of Italian jokes. But hey, it's okay because Pat's Italian.
I'm 75% Italian, so it's okay.
79%?
75.
75.
Don't make me get out my Ancestry.com DNA test and go through the other divisions where I'm actually, part Arabic going back 1,000 years.
Right.
I'm not going to do that.
I still want to do one of those. When you told me about that, it sounded
It's very
pretty
interesting.
cool.
It's very interesting.
So anyways, we had fun doing that. But other than that, life has been pretty good, calming down a bit after the big month that was October, in the beginning of November with the marathon, wedding, all that sort of stuff, being sick. I'm officially going to MagFest. And
2 in a row, wow.
2 in a row.
The second convention.
Yeah, second convention of this sort.
Yeah, you don't count Comic-Con. That's not...
Sure,
one where you're a guest, kind of, where people know you.
Right.
Yeah.
And Bonnie's going with me, which is big. I know a lot of my friends on Twitter are excited to meet her. Some have already actually met her, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. So she will be having a good time, I'm sure. One of the cooler things that happened, I'm only going to touch on it briefly, is after this recent Nintendo marathon, our local children's hospital, which is part of the Children's Miracle Network, actually got a hold of us and asked us if we'd like to take a tour of the hospital, and they would show us sort of how these funds that you guys all donate to the marathon, affect the actual hospital. So for me, it was really cool because, over the years we've done these marathons and we've always known that the money goes to a good cause, and we've kind of seen the first part of the equation, but we've never been able to see the final result. So it was really neat. A lady named Carly took us around and showed us, and all the playrooms. It's weird because I always kind of assume, but you never think it. When you're in a hospital and you see like a playroom or a playground, out in the courtyard or something like that, you just assume that it was part of the building plan. But it's not. Those are things that are almost entirely built by, philanthropy. And then wings of buildings, this is a non-profit hospital, so donations, really help this sort of stuff. And, they just built a beautiful wing with very, very specific areas for care. And it was just cool to see the effect of everything that's been going on for 5 years and how much you all have helped, not just Rady Children's Hospital, but all of the children's hospitals all over the world. And even though you always trust these things, we can actually say now, there is a difference being made by these donations. And that's very cool.
Yeah, we saw the beautiful, just the feel of the place was so comfortable.
Right.
Just it felt like you were just relaxed. It doesn't look like a hospital from the outside. There's areas where you walk into it where it's not all cold and just white walls. It's very warm.
Yeah, they had tons
inviting.
of beautiful broken tile art where they would shatter tiles and piece them back together, and there was modern art installations. And you have to understand, this is a non-profit hospital, so they're not wasting. It's not like they're charging you more than they should to build this. This is all part of. You have to understand, it's a children's hospital. Adults can handle the fact that they're going to the hospital. Children's need to feel warm, and calm inside, and this really goes a long way to helping them while they're there. So it was a fantastic experience for myself, and I'm sure I can speak for Pat and say for him as well. Very, very cool stuff, and it makes me want to get out there and do a bit more.
All right, so what was going on a week or so back with
I'll start on this.
Why were PS4s being sold for $90, Ian?
Because people are assholes.
Oh, okay.
Because people are scumbags. So I'm starting. Kotaku, the story broke on Kotaku that basically what had happened was it started with an error being priced on Sears of a Nintendo Wii U and 3DS bundle for, I believe, $60 or $90.
And that was for sale on their website.
Right. And that was for sale on their website. And someone printed it out and went and
the stores.
Went to the store, and they couldn't get it. The manager actually shot it down. But what people realized was very quickly, anyone can sell on Amazon, and anyone can create an official looking ad on Amazon. So people were putting PlayStation 4s up for sale, and now something like Amazon will shoot you down kind of as an automatic scam if you're selling for less than, like, I mean, if something sells for 400 and you're selling it for 80, they just automatically don't put it up. But you can pre-generate that page, screen cap it, and it looks just like the actual ad. So there were people out there actually so people went out there and they were putting PS4s up for 80 and 90, and they were going, and there were
they were creating
false ads
or false pricing on Amazon Marketplace, which are the third-party place. So you go on Amazon, you have like the Amazon listing, but then you have a bunch of anyone else can sell on Amazon and list their own price.
Right, and so I think a lot of people didn't think, and a lot of people felt like we're screwing the man. We're screwing Walmart, we're screwing Kmart, we're screwing these places that do price matching. But as a small business owner and as a person who knows people who have been thrown under the bus for mistakes at big box places as well, you're not fucking anyone but the little guy who needs money to buy presents and food for his families or her families at the holidays. And this is what bothers me about this. No one fucking thought twice about this. If you go out and you scam someone on a busy day, it's the holiday season, and you're screaming and throwing a fucking fake ad in their face, and they're at the counter and they price match it, it's not just you who's coming out ahead, and it's not the big business that loses the money. It's the guy at the counter who's going to get fucking shit canned because he accepted a price match that was false. And no matter how legitimate it looked, the boss of that establishment, that person's direct higher up, is not going to think twice about canning him when it's his ass on the line or the employee. And that's fucking disgusting. Yeah. You're fucking gross.
There's a lot of... I have a lot of issues with this. We're on the same page here. I usually, when it comes to stuff, we usually are.
Not always. I think that's what makes it interesting. But on this, we're definitely
when it comes to consumer stuff, we're usually on the same page.
Sure.
The problem with this idea and thought that no one is affected by my actions, it to me is disturbing. And it's not just for stuff like this, it's on every level where people are tweeting out, people, first of all, if you're stupid enough to tweet out your receipt with like half your credit card number in your store, I think Walmart's going to find out who you are. And they may not be able to do anything about it there technically, but they'll have you on file for the future because companies do that. But this is the problem. When I see people, whether it's reported on Kotaku, and Kotaku was almost encouraging it in some weird, sick way that, well, you're just screwing over Walmart. Do you honestly think, let's just say, for example, that let's just say 200 people, which probably more than actually happened, 200 people got this deal. So a PS4 usually goes for what, $350, $400?
$400 new.
So let's just say they're losing $300 in each. 300 times 200, you do the math there, it's like $60,000.
And you know what $60,000 is to a place like Walmart? Fucking nothing. You haven't screwed over the big guy.
No, what you've screwed over is this. Like Ian astutely pointed out, it's that employee making minimum wage that is sitting at the desk and getting yelled at and just said, I don't want to deal with this, I'll just price match it. And then when his boss finds out, some bosses probably be like, okay, you did a bad thing, we'll let this slide. But what if that person's on 1 or 2 strikes? You don't know. The boss is having a bad day. Yeah, that could give them authority to shit can that person because they maybe showed really bad judgment, or hell, they don't know if they might be in cahoots with the person doing this or persons. Because that happens at times where people where scams happen where the employee is in on it with an outside person. Stuff like that does happen.
Right.
So there's just if that happened in the store for any other purpose in any other department, that person could be in trouble in a totally non-related issue. These are things no one fucking thinks about.
Right.
Which really annoys me. And the other part about it is there are many stores, I don't know if Walmart does this, but there are stores where there are bonuses based upon how a store performs. If they get a certain amount over a certain profit level, a percentage of that profit goes back to the individual store employees, and then they get a cut of that. Again, I'm not sure if Walmart does that, but I do know that stores that have done something like that. And if you're doing this and ripping them off, you are hurting those employees directly. You're not hurting the fucking CEO of Walmart. Do you think it's going to matter to them? And they know it's not going to matter to them. at all. And it's just that sort of bullshit sort of attitude where, well, I'm not hurting anyone because I don't think I am, so I'll just do whatever I want. Which is it's just mind-boggling to me.
My blood is starting to boil, and I don't want it to affect the rest of the podcast, so I'm simply going to say this. We live in an age of entitlement, and we live in an age where people think about no one but themselves. We live in an age where we are on the internet constantly, and to so many people, it is just words on the other end of the computer. When you sit down to Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow, if you happen to be one of the people who managed to get a cheap PS4 by scamming a company, I want you to sit down and honestly think about if you're ruining someone else's opportunity to have a meal with their family, if you are ruining someone else's opportunity to have a Christmas because you needed a fucking piece of consumer electronics for $90. Here's a better idea, fuckface. Wait until Black Friday and get it for cheaper, or wait until you have the fucking money. Do what the other rest of us do and save up and buy it when you can fucking afford it, you piece of shit.
And I'm glad that there's like cheapy games. They wouldn't run something like this usually. They usually do reputable, real deals. They don't do some. This is fraud. That's what it is. This is fraud.
A cheap-ass gamer wouldn't run something like this.
Yeah, he wouldn't.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know that. I can't verify that, but I would like to think that they wouldn't put something like this.
No, because this isn't a real deal.
It's not.
It's not a real deal. It's fraudulent. So I don't know where you go from here, but just please, this isn't like, whoa, you get good deals at the flea market. No, because that's an agreed upon price, and it's not fraudulent. It's not like Walmart's pricing this at $90, knowing it. They're getting screwed, and it's not like the person walking into the store doesn't realize that that's a fake price. They know it's a fake price, or else they wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
So it's just totally fraudulent. And just think about it. Think about who you're really affecting.
And don't even come at me with the smarter, they need to be smarter than that, or it's their fault thing, because
it's not their fault.
Like I said, if you've worked in retail, you understand how hectic these situations can be. You don't understand what sales go on. Black Friday deals, holiday deals get crazier every year.
Sure.
And while an employee is probably going to look at that with a raised eye, if it's a matter of getting a 15-person line moving a little bit quicker, they're probably going to look at it and go, this looks like every other ad I've ever price matched, and price match it, even though it seems bizarre. And then it's not like they have time to fucking verify.
And then
it.
their boss will come back in the day saying, you did what? You sold one or two PS4s for $90? Like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Either they're going to be docked pay, or I don't know if there's some sort of demerit system, or again, if there's a Walmart sharing system, I think there is, for profits, that eats away at that.
Right.
That's where it comes out of. It's just bad. And plus, you know what you're screwing over? Everyone else, because price matching is a good thing for the consumer base at large.
Yes.
And so when this happens, stores might be, whoa, this could put us at risk. Why should we do price matching against other stores?
Well, one of the articles, I thought it was the...
Walmart was already forced to change the policy.
I thought it was the Kotaku one, but maybe it was the Consumerist article. But
yes.
They basically led off their article by saying, and in other news, horrible people ruin price matching for everyone.
Sure. So you're taking advantage of, a big business doing something that's actually pretty good for the consumer.
Yeah.
So this is what Walmart actually said. We launched online price matching because it's the right thing for our customers. It's making a meaningful difference for people who want to feel confident they're getting the best price, and we're committed for matching online prices going forward. At the same time, we can't tolerate fraud. We can't tolerate fraud or attempts to trick our cashiers. This kind of activity is unfair to the millions of customers who count on us every day for honest value. With this in mind, we've updated our policy to clarify that we will match prices from Walmart.com and 30 major online retailers, but we won't honor prices from marketplace vendors, third-party sellers, auction sites, or sites requiring memberships. So again, people will say, well, why didn't they do it to begin with? Well, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's hard to think of every scumbag move that someone will potentially make until it happens.
Right.
That's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
You can't always know something that's going to happen until it happens.
Something's going to get through the net. So anyway.
So that much more to say about it. Again, you got a PS4 for $90. Good for you, man. Good for you. You want to spread the news about it and encourage other people to do it. Feel great about yourself.
So, on to something a little bit more positive for me, anyways. Hey, is everyone ready for a CU podcast first? I think it's a first.
A trailer analysis and review?
A trailer analysis that I am positive on.
What?
And other people seem to be negative about it, so I'm still going to get called a hipster.
So Zack Snyder's nowhere near this
Zack
movie.
Snyder's nowhere near this. I don't even know who's near this. You know what is near this? Fucking dinosaurs. So the first Jurassic World full trailer came out, and some people are pissed that it gave away too much plot. Look, I don't like it when trailers do too, but it's the fourth Jurassic Park movie.
Is it
right?
a secret what happens in Jurassic Park right now?
Right.
Dinosaurs run amok. At first, it's like, whoa, this is something innocuous, giant monsters, and then they run amok and kill people.
Okay, so there's a hybrid. Well, they never showed you the hybrid. It just makes me interested. You know what else that trailer showed? It showed Christopher Pratt unleashing a horde of raptors and riding with them on a motorcycle to save the fucking day.
I guess he's the dinosaur whisperer or
I
something?
don't know, dude. All I know is it's Jurassic Park, and there's so unlike I loved the first Jurassic Park movie a lot. I have watched it a lot of times. The second Jurassic Park movie, I did not like it because the second half of the movie.
Well, that's the one that really deviated from the book.
Right? And I read the. I mean, fuck Michael Crichton, but I loved the first two books.
So they attacked right here at Coronado.
Yeah, I know. But I loved the first two books, and the fact that it deviated so much from the book, I didn't like it. Part 3 couldn't even. I just didn't watch it. But this, we're going back to Nebula, folks. Okay, we got dinosaurs. It's open for business. There's rides.
Did you see the third one?
No, I said I didn't see the third one. Yeah, I just didn't bother with it.
I've seen parts of it on TV. That's one William H. Macy where it kind of gets back to the basics a little
I've
bit.
heard it's a bunch of chase scenes and then a helicopter airlift out of it, and that's basically it.
Well, that's like the first
It's kind of
one.
like Terminator 3. a big chase scene, and then something happens at the end.
But it has the original guy in it. What's his name?
Does it?
Yeah, the original Doctor's in it for the third one.
Right.
That's because camera. But here's the thing about this. Just from a plot perspective, at what point do you realize that having dinosaurs around people is not a good idea? How much death and destruction does it take?
Here's the thing, and people
Like, this actually happened. If a dinosaur actually ran amok, if a T-Rex ran amok through Coronado Island right over here,
we are never doing this again.
yeah, we are gonna leave that island alone. Is it just the fact that greed conquers all, and that we can make this into Disneyland and then get? Would you visit a Jurassic Park? Like, would you take even that small risk, even if you knew it was open for a couple years, nothing happened? You would.
I would.
Okay.
I would. No, I totally would.
You would totally go.
I would totally go to a Jurassic Park, and if I got eaten so fucking it,
It's worth the
that would be the coolest way to
I think I'd be okay with watching videos on YouTube of it.
Mr. Vincent Ferguson, how did your son die? He was eaten by a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Your son's fucking awesome. So anyways, I know I'm going to get shit because, I take things like my superhero movies a little bit seriously, but that's because superheroes and stuff like that, they have a long history in a canon. Jurassic Park doesn't. Jurassic Park to me is a modern day popcorn film, like a Godzilla or something like that, and I love movies like that. And from what I saw, this movie could be bad, but it's going to be good. And I'm going to enjoy it.
How is this park allowed to operate just based on the insurance costs alone? You would think it would be astronomical.
Shut up. Shut up.
Well, let's see. You've had 45 people eaten on this island, so your insurance is going to be $5 billion a year.
I don't know. But anyways, I don't know what your thoughts actually are. You said you watched it. I don't think you ever had. I don't gather you had the investment.
No, I watched the first movie. The first movie still, you'll go back, it still looks great. The effects are still good. And that was the first time the CG graphics in the movie were like, wow, this is really good.
Well, because it was a mix of CG and practical that
and they
made
pulled
it
off.
amazing.
They pulled it off. They even kept it kind of secret until the movie came out. And that was the first movie I remember in '93 that I think had like 3D sound. I think fully. Like in theaters, I remember, and I saw it in a theater, and it was like, the roar came from behind. Well, you're like, holy shit!
The thing I remember, and it was the roar and the thumping with the water.
Yeah.
I remember never really hearing anything like that in a theater before.
So you have Chris Pratt, who this is going to if Guardians of the Galaxy didn't cement him as a superstar, this movie will.
Right.
I just hope he doesn't get into this sort of I'm going to be this same character in every movie.
He didn't look like he was going to be though.
Well, he looks exactly the same facial hair, but we'll see. I'm just saying. I hope he doesn't get himself typecast as just the cool, cocky hero, even though some guys play that well. You know what I mean?
I don't know, if he gets typecast as the cool cocky hero who rides a motorcycle with a bunch of fucking velociraptors, I'm okay with it.
Are you okay with the Velociraptors not being scientifically accurate? Because since Jurassic Park came out, they've actually known that they're like smaller, they have feathers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
you don't care that they're different.
I'm okay with everything about this movie.
You just like dinosaurs.
I just
Hell,
like
I like dinosaurs. As a kid, I love dinosaur
No, I mean,
books and little figurines.
In reality, I love dinosaurs. Like, I read about them. I like to keep up on it. I know they're not the same, but for the purpose of Jurassic Park, which is a movie that does not take place in any form of reality, I am okay with the raptors looking like the raptors from Jurassic Park.
So you have Chris Pratt, who is probably one of the guys running security. I guess again he's a Velociraptor whisperer or something. And then you have Bryce Dallas Howard as I guess the person running it, who's the person running. Oh, nothing's gonna go wrong at my park. Maybe she's the granddaughter of Hammond from the first one. And then
This time things will go just fine.
I know. And then Vincent D'Onofrio's in there, which I just love.
Whoa, wait
Vincent
a
D'Onofrio.
second. I love Vincent D'Onofrio, and I did not see him in that trailer.
I believe he's cast as T-Rex number 2. No, but he's listed as Morton is his name.
No, you don't understand.
You have a thing for
deep
Vincent D'Onofrio?
love I have for
You
Vincent.
love Criminal Intent?
Yes.
You see the last season?
Connect the dots. Did you ever see that one?
you know he's gonna be Kingpin in the Daredevil series.
Yeah.
So you're sold just because
I'm gonna go see
you're
that
sold.
too. Yeah.
And BD Wong from SVU.
Are you kidding me?
He's cast. You love this movie. I don't want to hear ever again that Ian hates stuff.
Yeah.
Because he's like, he's so happy.
I am A+ 100% ready for this.
And in true fashion, you have your T-Rex arms ready to go for Jurassic World.
BD Wong, Vincent D'Onofrio. Oh God.
Chris Pratt.
Velociraptors and okay, yeah. So let's move on before I create fluids. That's also a reference to last night. I'm sorry.
So last night, let's just make clear for the people on YouTube, we recorded Video Game Years commentary.
Yeah, we did,
Oh,
and
okay.
it seems like our pal John Delia has issues with bodily fluids. So.
Did you like the slow, creepy piano remix of the original theme?
Tears, just light welling up of tears in the corners.
If you had a choice to be eaten by what dinosaur, would it be a T-Rex?
If I had a choice to what?
Be eaten by a dinosaur, would it be a T-Rex or would it be like a pterodactyl swooping in, a brontosaurus stepping on you? What would it be?
Eaten by a dinosaur? T-Rex. If I could be a dinosaur, Triceratops.
Okay.
Always been my favorite.
Okay, moving on. So this
Best conversation ever.
so this is something let's touch upon because it's almost like it doesn't seem like it's already been a year since Xbox One and PS4 came out because you know why?
Because nothing exciting's happened.
There's been not a lot of exclusives have come out in the system yet. Titanfall's an exclusive. They're still waiting.
That's not.
It wasn't exclusive.
It was on the 360.
So that's not. Is the big Halo exclusive even out yet?
Yes, it is, and
the
it's
one.
full of bugs.
Okay.
And it was just remakes of the previous ones.
GTA 5 just came out a year later.
It has some exclusive features.
First person mode.
Yes.
Here's the point though. We are not even close for these systems to be necessary 1 year in. And the Xbox One hasn't done the best of sales. And they're horribly behind the PS4. They're probably never going to catch up.
Well, here's the thing. I don't have any exact numbers in front of me. They are trailing the PS4.
I'll bring them up.
Okay. But, and they could catch up. I don't think they will.
They slashed the price of it to try to...
Yeah. You have to understand, people want to label me as know-it-all or fanboy, but you have to understand, I sit behind a fucking desk and sell video games 6 days a week, sometimes 7. I see trends. Any PS4 that we get in the store used sells within a day, 2, 3 days, maybe. The last Xbox One we got into the store, and we sold it at a very cheap price, took 3 weeks to sell. Actually, I think it took 4 weeks to sell.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Now, obviously, that's not a nationwide, sample of what's going on. But when people come in and look for, hey, do you have games for new systems? Yeah, what system are you looking for? PS4. The Xbox One just isn't generating the excitement. And the problem is, and here's the thing, I wasn't pro Xbox One. As a matter of fact, I was pretty negative against it at first. But truthfully, it bothered me that they did have some exclusives I was kind of interested in. And a lot of those exclusives have come out, and they've been released to very lukewarm and tepid reviews. So suddenly, I don't have a lot of reasons to want an Xbox One. Whereas the exclusive download games, for instance, on the PS4, even though they're just download games, have been more than enough fun for me to be like, well, I don't need this system now. I bought it because I could, and I didn't know if I'd be able to later when something like Doom 4 comes out. But there are at least a few exclusives for that system that tickle my interest. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think this is anything out of the ordinary. I don't know that you do. The way you phrased it sounded like you might. I think we need to see what happens next year.
Okay.
Much like we used to say with the Wii, we need to give both these systems another year.
Yeah, but this is a competition between PS4 and Xbox One.
Right.
Since they had 90% the same games.
Right.
So,
Wii U exists on its own.
Yeah, Wii U's on its own, and we've talked about how it's going to come on once the big titles come out, and it is coming on.
It has.
I mean, there's an outside shot that Wii U will probably be within the striking distance of the Xbox One when it's all said and done. Who knows? But in Japan, the Xbox One hasn't caught on at all.
No.
Even if it's a 2-to-1 ratio here, whatever it is, or 3/4-to-1 ratio. In Japan, it's been abysmal like that, so much that I don't know if Microsoft's even trying to pursue it anymore.
The thing is, I have to touch on that. Sadly, a system's performance in Japan no longer has much of an impact over here because the lay of the games and what type of games come out is so different than what consumers, or at least what publishers, were giving us in the PS2 era, which was like lots of RPGs and stuff like that, the quirkier stuff. But it does mean a lot for Japan. So it doesn't mean a lot to us in terms of what games we get. What it does mean a lot is in terms of global sales. Sony's doing well globally, and if Microsoft isn't, I mean, how much longer can they really do this?
Because they're still losing money in each system.
Trey and I talk about this all the time. My friend, my Frost, my boss friend. When Jesus Christ, Ferguson, did you really just drop the fucking thought?
You did drop the thought, and I'll try to pick it back up.
Yeah.
So I guess, like you said, we're going to see where this goes the second year. But I just thought it was interesting to bring up that we're a year in, and I don't know if. Let's put it this way: do you need a PS4 at this point? Like, do you honestly need it versus the PS3?
I own a PS4, and you don't need it at this point. I tell customers all the time who are like, should I get a system now? And I say, you don't need it at this point. I said, at the price that you can get some PS3s for in the great back library that it has, and even the Xbox 360, get one of those to tide you over in the meantime until the price on these newer systems drop. And what we were saying about the Xbox One and the PS4 is, Trey and I, a lot of these companies seem to think that because they had prior success in the previous generation, that means that success is going to carry over. But if I would say in video games more than any other industry, that's not the case. I mean, look how Nintendo lost it from Super going to 64.
Or Wii to Wii U.
Right. Look how Sega lost it going from Genesis into Saturn, and how Sony lost it going from PS2 into PS3 in those early days. A lot of these companies ride on this fucking idea that, hey, we got all this money and we're going to do great. And then they think that this gives them the right to just try to institute these features in their benefit, and customers do turn.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask, do you think that the ill will from E3 going back last year, a year and a half ago, about the draconian DRM rules and not being able to sell used games, things like that, people probably turned at that point. They probably lost it, and they're not coming back.
And just like it took forever to get people back on Sony's side when Sony announced that their good model system for the PS3 was going to be $600 fucking dollars. Yeah. It took them years to get people interested in PS3s again.
Even though the PS2 it was the biggest console ever in the world, it still took a while to get back.
There's a lot of hubris. Hey, we're great, and you're going to follow us anyways, so you're going to pay $600. And it's like, nope, fuck you. We're going to go to this cheaper system.
$600, and the economy's crashing. You're going to just...
Hey, you can't buy used games anymore. Eat me. I'm going back to Sony. I mean, it doesn't work. It doesn't work how they think it's going to work.
All right. Speaking of modern
stuff,
current gen systems.
So the Wii U is doing it's doing nicely. I mean, it's definitely seeing a surge in popularity because of great games like Mario Kart 8 and the recently released Wii U Smash Brothers,
which has gotten really good reviews.
It's
as
a
well.
fantastic game. We've been playing it all weekend. Vonnie and I have really gotten into it. Just great stuff. But they released a bundle. So there's a couple things that were coming out with the Wii U Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers, purists will tell you that the best controller for it is a GameCube controller. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think that's just because it's what they know, and that's fair. But, I mean, I'm doing perfectly fine with a classic controller. So to satisfy these players and to try to pull, I think, some of the Melee diehard from Melee into a newer generation of Smash.
Plus, to make some good money.
Yeah, they decided to put out a GameCube controller adapter. Now, you plug it into the USB port, and it gives you 4 GameCube controller adapters. And to go along with this, Nintendo is releasing GameCube controllers again.
Yes, and what PDP is putting them out?
No, Nintendo is putting them out. PDP is putting out some third-party ones.
So they both have their own version out there.
Yes.
Because I believe they're like $29.99 for the PDP ones.
I think it's I think it's 30. I think it's I don't know the prices, but I know that initially some of the info was odd. But no, Nintendo has their own official GameCube controllers.
Okay.
So,
and the adapter is $19.99.
Yeah, the adapter is $19.99 piece of plastic that lets you plug in these controllers. They did a bundle that was $100 that came with one of the GameCube controllers, one of the adapters in the game. Those sold out everywhere. And the GameCube controllers, the GameCube adapters sold out everywhere. So what's happened now is there is none of these things anywhere. I've been getting calls for them all day, and they're currently being, I've seen people asking as high as 200. I've seen them actually flipping for as high as 100. This is ridiculous because you can go to a place like Fry's and you can pre-order this online or probably Amazon.
It's back-ordered.
Yeah, not pre-order. I'm sorry. Order it. Basically, pre-order it for the next shipment, and they'll probably ship them to you in December.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you pay $100 for a $20 piece of equipment? I have no idea. I also think it's gross that, once again, there is never a missed opportunity to scalp something for a profit. And it bothers me that people probably bought these up and sold them.
It's capitalism. You gotta expect that.
Well, sometimes capitalism is fucking bullshit. It's not perfect. I'm sorry. No.
Capitalism is not perfect. Bad things happen with it. You accept the good and the bad. We know that. But this is the bad part of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's good and bad. So what bothers me is I have, people coming in and bitching about Nintendo, shortening the supply. And it's like, what does Nintendo gain by shortening the supply of this? It's not like the Wii U, okay? It's not creating false demand. You don't create false demand for a $20 peripheral. No. This is Nintendo thinking it probably wasn't going to be popular enough, and a bunch of people who saw the opportunity bought up what Nintendo thought was a reasonable allotment and are now trying to make money.
So say a store probably, what's a reasonable amount for a store to get? Like 10 of these probably? Right. Something like that. And then you have people thinking, I'll just buy them off my local Target and Walmart. I'll have 30 of these, and I'll just mark them up, 400%.
Right, because Nintendo's not going to make a shitload off of this by creating false demand. Because here's the deal. There are tournament players or purists who want to use the GameCube controller, and that's fine. But you have to think about the cost involved for this setup, okay? $20 for the adapter, the game, $60, and then $30 for 4 of the controllers if you want a 4-player setup.
Unless you have the old ones laying around.
I mean, you could, but
those will cost you $25 for an old one anyway.
So I'm just, from this standpoint, this is a lot of money to invest in playing a game. Mm-hmm. Nintendo probably didn't think a lot of people were going to invest this much money in it. They probably knew it was going to sell for them, and they probably figured if we get more out in December, that's fine.
Yeah.
Now, Nintendo probably should have thought about scalpers, but at launch, it doesn't matter what Nintendo puts out. The scalper community will still buy that up and try to flip it.
That's up to the individual stores to have a policy saying, 1 or 2 per person.
Yes.
That's up to them to police that. So, yeah, this is a thing where this will be, obviously, Nintendo's realized this is going to be a moneymaker for them because they're going to pump these out, and this is how they're going to make their money back on controllers Just like in the old days, controllers on peripherals like this.
Right, but at the same point in time, I don't agree with the sometimes assumption that I've seen online that this is some nefarious scheme by
Oh no,
Nintendo.
it's not. It's like with the Wii. No, they just couldn't make them fast enough. They had no idea that every single person wanted a Wii when it was coming out.
And here's the deal:
And not one Scout, but yeah.
you could make a reasonable argument to me that by creating a false demand for the Wii, helped them later because they just sold boatloads
Oh yeah,
of them.
it took about a good year before you could find them regularly in stores. The Wii.
But that's because Nintendo makes a profit on hardware.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, a $20 plastic peripheral that is nothing more than a couple of. I don't think that
No,
Nintendo
it doesn't make sense.
purposely did this.
You don't falsely create demand for a peripheral that for now you can only use, I think, on one game.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense in the world. That's a very niche market that you're going after.
Not to mention, it's a game that when you flip over the box, it's like laugh out loud worthy how many controllers this fucking thing supports. You can use the Pro controller,
Wiimote.
the Wiimote plus Nunchuck, you
Classic
can use
Pro?
the Classic controller. Yeah, so I mean, you can use all sorts of really reasonable
Super Nintendo controller. You can get out. It'd be cool. It'd be cool.
Zapper.
It'd be cool. Like on the Wii, they had those like N64 adapters. It'd be cool if they had a Wii U on to use an N64 controller. That'd be awesome.
That would be neat.
I've actually tried using that.
But yeah, so it sucks, but I don't know, just bide your time, enjoy the game.
Yeah,
enjoy the game.
Well, this is just it's unfortunate. People are excited about this. They're like, oh, this is gonna be the new tournament, Smash Fighter, since Brawl really wasn't. They're excited about it. Have a little bit of patience. Save your $80,
Right.
And wait 2 weeks.
And look at it this way: learn the game on a controller you don't like, so that by the time you get the controller you do like, you're that much better.
And that extra $80 you would have spent can go into 2 controllers anyway that you can just buy right now.
Or pizzas for your friends when you have a party. Do people socialize? I mean, there's so many ways you can use this money in the meantime.
Socializing? What? It's insane. Bear with me, folks. This is investigative journalism that's come to my attention, I guess, about a little bit of eBay shenanigans going on that eBay is, from my source, somewhat aware of. Now, if you're a person like me that follows prices of games being bought and sold semi-regularly, especially with buy it nows, you know that when you see a lot of buy it nows, by the time you discover the really good deals, they're gone. They're gone within 20 minutes, a half hour.
Yep.
Which could be fair if someone's searching at that point. They're getting a saved search, which I think eBay does send out the saved email searches about probably the same time to everyone, probably depending upon the server. That's fine. But it's gotten a lot tougher to get these buy it nows that are either mislabeled or, I'm going to put out like a $40 game for buy it now for $10 plus shipping. It's gotten tougher to get these. I haven't gotten any of these in any games that I've looked for or needed, and I don't know many people else that have gotten them. But there could be a somewhat nefarious and fraudulent reason why.
Is nefarious the word of this podcast?
It is the word.
We used it in the last segment.
There could be a reason why. So it has come to my attention through various emails, and I've looked through it. And I'm not going to name the source or the entity company being accused, but it seems like at some point within the last year or two, they're on eBay. These sellers have accounts. These large sellers, this I've known. These sellers have accounts, multiple accounts to buy quantities of game. When you go to these bigger resellers, and there's between 5 or 10 at least, that if I start rattling off the names, you'd be like, oh, I bought a game from them. They have a huge amount of stock, and they're not like a brick and mortar where people are coming in and giving them. These are not brick and mortars. These are online retailers. So where do they get their games from? Obviously, they have to be purchased for the most part online.
Yeah, keep in mind that a lot of online retailers don't have storefronts. I don't know if that's something people realize.
The biggest ones don't.
Right. These are people who are sitting in a makeshift office in their house who have garages full of crap.
Sure. And they have empires. Some of them even advertise on eBay, or they advertise. I see they're advertised on my website sometimes. These are, eBay stores that have a huge amount of games. So I always thought that they hired people to troll eBay every day, look for game lots, look for buy it nows, constantly refresh. It would make sense. You hire maybe 4 or 5 people, you can get a good quantity of games doing that. I mean, they'd have to buy at least, to have this quantity of games, 10 to 20 at least purchases a day of lots. Besides individual games, to get this much of stock. These companies have thousands and thousands of games for sale at one time in manuals and systems. Someone emailed me with some decent evidence that it looks like there are programs being used by buying accounts to search the servers of eBay automatically based on certain, I guess, price points and word search terms, and buy these buy it now listings the very instant they appear on eBay servers.
Now, I read through these emails as well, and I believe the individual stated that the way this seems to be working is they're searching hundreds of times a minute. And what's very interesting about this is you'll notice when you compare numbers that from the time something is listed to bought, you usually see a delay, even of the fastest sales, delay of maybe 5 to 6 minutes. And what this is the eBay server putting the listing up. What the emails have shown in evidence is times of 30 seconds. 15 seconds, a minute. This means that these things are being bought out before they can even
really hit the marketplace.
Right, before anyone can search and find them.
Sure, and plus there's different eBay servers throughout the U.S. that are putting this up, so they might be listed first in one part of the U.S. and maybe a minute or 30 seconds later somewhere else, and then it's never even a chance to even be seen by any other part of the U.S. You know, this is... again, this is something that in my back of my head I could realize something like this could happen, but just seeing it like this pointed out to me that, like, for example, there was a seller with some N64 games that were listed all at like $9.99. You know, buy it now. So you have like the marquee titles like Smash Brothers, Ocarina of Time, things like that. $9.99 plus shipping and handling. Games like this, you buy those. Smash goes for like $45-50. That's a $40 or $30 profit.
It goes for more than that.
Right, that.
Yeah.
So when you see the time listings on these, though, and then compare it to the bought listings, a lot of these are the same minute.
Yeah.
They're the same exact minute that they're listed, and you go back and check the end time. They're the same minute. So if you're going to tell me that someone hired someone to click refresh on these, refresh constantly, newest listings, then had to go, okay, now show me just buy it now, now show me the price was, and then logically in their human minds, click on it, buy it now, go through the checkout. And within 1 minute, that's impossible to do that consistently. Maybe once, to do it over and over again, no way in hell.
Well, especially when you, I mean, maybe your first time of the day, you know, you can be that fast, especially if you have like Chrome autofill on or whatever.
Sure.
But as the day goes on, as you get more tired, I can tell you from working on computers, I mean, anyone can who's worked on computers, as the day goes on, you get way slower at your reaction to this. This is not only does it not make any fucking sense to hire someone to just hit refresh all day, because you have to actually pay them. It's just not possible for that to be consistently happening. And the evidence also showed some pretty... what's the word I want to use? Robotic timing intervals on these things. Like things were bought exactly 3 minutes apart.
And this person who emailed me found out about this sort of circuitously because they had the bot purchase at least one of their items. Mm. And so that's one of the ways they found out, where it was like instant listing just about bought. Because I believe if this is probably, well, I do know who, from this evidence, who's responsible for programming this program. You can go onto websites and they have the sniping sort of I guess you can call them programs there,
right,
which is what this program is probably based on. Where a sniping one is usually they're free, and you put in, okay, I want to bid on this item at this time. 6 seconds left, this is the bid I want. So this, though, is searching, because on these sniping programs, you have to put in the listing specifically. You have to do the work, put in the listing, and then it has to end. So for there, you can do that yourself. That's just the robot helping you. This is the robot searching, like you said, every listing on eBay, searching the descriptions, searching lots and finding descriptions. I don't know if it's sophisticated enough to count up the games in a lot and then put it against the price. Who knows?
It's probably looking for keywords, and if even one keyword is
triggered, it'll buy it.
Triggered,
versus
and the price
point.
is right. So, I mean, because I know it's going to come up in the comments section anyways, I'll address it. I do have issues with sniping programs, but eBay doesn't, or I don't know if they do.
eBay frowns upon it, but it's not like, there's the thing, it's a human could snipe though. Like
Right.
before sniping programs, humans were sniping.
Right, exactly, and that's what
I had to
kinda-
go home in college when my big box dynamite was going off and snipe it myself.
And that's kind of what I wanted to get at, is that humans can snipe, and sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're not. And even with sniping programs, sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're not. And what it has done is, okay, you found this that you are actually bidding on, so you're actually engaged in some sort of bidding war.
Sure.
You're not getting it for the lowest available price, and you know, we all have jobs, we all have shit to do, and sometimes we can't watch all these auctions. But to grab things before they're even up for the public is
For the rest of the U.S., yeah.
That's definitely
'Cause
shady in my book.
It sounds like, according to the source, that this software is deployed on multiple servers throughout the U.S. to maximize its effectiveness. So if something shows up, say eBay has a server based out of the East Coast, New York. Say if that item appears there, even 2 seconds before it appears in the West Coast, because the software is also deployed in that area, it'll make sure it gets it before it even appears, on the other side of the country. So apparently, eBay is aware of this, or has been made aware. This person did notify them and gave them multiple buying accounts that were using this, and I believe eBay did ban at least one of these buying accounts, but this is popping up more and more. So again, this is extremely troubling because it's not a level playing field at all.
Right.
The odds are stacked against you, and yes, this does artificially raise prices.
Yes, I was just going to say, it artificially raises prices. What this program is going after is really misprices, but depending on the parameters that the person wants to set and how close they're willing to get to current retail value, what you are doing is you are eliminating the lower end and only leaving the higher end, which just raises the price.
So it's bad in two ways. It's bad that they're basically getting all this cheap stock to resell, but they're also then manipulating the market. They're manipulating the market because then, say for example, Smash Brothers, say in the past you were able to get a cheap buy, now cheap in quotes, for $25. If this bot sets it at any $25, hey, I'm selling mine all at $50. I don't want to. All those $25 ones are now gone. No chance.
Right.
Then all the 30 ones will be gone. So he's not only this person or entities that are doing this is not only depleting the supply, they are now artificially raising the price at the same time and protecting their price at those levels. This is bad any way you look at it. There's no positives to this. None at all.
No.
The only people that win are the people running these businesses and doing something that's illegal. And again, if eBay knows about this, I hope they come down on it. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they figure, well, it's going to be bought anyway. But this is a bad experience. And the more people find out about this and use it, it's going to be... That's why I always hated Buy It Nows. Buy It Nows were the beginning of the end.
I'm going to fiddle as eBay burns. It's going to be just dandy.
So I bring this up. I'm not going to say who this big seller is because I do not have the direct evidence myself. I'm not going to say who this person is, but I invite those out there to look into this activity yourself. If you thought this was going on, talk to other collectors, look at Buy It Now prices.
Yeah, if you notice your Buy It Nows being gone in, way quicker time than they should,
or ones that come up in your saved searches and you go and check them every day, and why aren't they? They're never there.
Then record this.
Record it. Let eBay know.
Report
let eBay investigate themselves. That's the only thing you could do. It's just a shame that I was always a person on forums where like, oh, you're being either paranoid or no, this shit is happening. It's a big business now.
Or shop local. I haven't seen any robots come into my store.
Well, kind of when you think about the personalities.
That's fair.
Get your tabletop soccer for $5 and put on eBay for 30 or 40. But yeah, it's just sad. It's just sad. And I know a hobby can't remain sort of a hobby forever before this stuff gets infiltrated, but this is an illegal, fraudulent activity.
Yeah.
That is nefarious.
It's definitely nefarious.
So, Activision recently, in the past few days, has starting to issue copyright strikes via the Digital Millennium Copyright Act against YouTubers because they are posting Call of Duty videos, Advanced Warfare videos, showing exploits and glitch tricks to, I guess, to cheat in the game. And so Activision has come out against this by issuing these strikes. I guess they don't want a lot of players knowing about it. So I guess it'll ruin the experience. I don't know the particulars about the experience being ruined, but it's interesting that the companies doing this, and this is to me isn't so much black and white. There's a lot of gray into this sort of activity. On the positive side, I like that a company is trying to protect the user experience. Because I've been in communities where it was obvious that there was cheating going on, whether it's Unreal Tournament or anything else where there's bots going on, and there wasn't a big policing of that happening to keep it fair for everyone. So on the one hand, I applaud Activision for trying to take a stance. A copyright strike, though, is a little far for me, but that's just how eBay works, in that it's not like you can set up, well, you have 2 days to respond.
YouTube.
Excuse me, yeah. You don't have you don't have 2 days to respond on YouTube if you get an email saying, please take down this video or also issue a copyright strike. It doesn't work like that. Usually you just get the strike and the video's gone. So if Activision wanted, obviously this is well within Activision's right to do this. They can issue copyright strikes on anyone that has gameplay footage if they really wanted to. Legally, they can get away with it. Obviously, they don't want to do that because that's really shitty to do, and plus that hurts them as a company.
Can I interject for one quick second?
You can.
Your hair is reaching Ludwig Koopa level again.
Okay, thank you, Ian.
You're welcome. Continue. Just diet blue.
Thanks for making me self-conscious. So on the one hand, you have a company with sort of overbearing authoritarian sort of rules saying we don't want you to show the bugs in our game that we should take care of. On the other hand, they don't want their multiplayer games to be just a mess of cheating due to these exploits.
Okay. Here's so I mean, I'm not too far off from where you are on this. I don't play a lot of the online games that suffer from the cheating, but I have a lot of friends who do, and they talk about how great this game was, and then it's been hacked or exploited, to oblivion, to the point where it can't be played anymore. And I mean, basically, the game's been ruined by other players.
Are they that bad, these exploits?
Oh yeah,
They're terrible.
Well, I mean, it got to the point. It usually gets to the point in various Call of Duties where you can't play these games unless you have a hacked, modified controller that can fire out.
Is it like machine gun rocket launch?
Yeah,
I
mean, I think that's a little extreme, but something like
you're
that.
You're getting a very unfair advantage.
So, my problem is, much like yours, it's the severity of what Microsoft is doing, because
Activision.
Who knows why this person's making this video, right? Now, are they making it to show you how to cheat? Or are they pointing out yet another fucking bug-filled game that came out this season that you shouldn't have paid $60 fucking dollars for?
You should have waited a month.
Right.
Yeah.
And my answer to that is, yeah, I don't want people cheating, but just have them remove the video. Do they need the copyright strike against them?
And copyright strikes are bad.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and I've learned that from being friends with you, is that copyright strikes are very, very bad. They're very, very hard to overturn, and they can ruin a YouTuber's career.
Yes.
And if this is how someone is making money, here's a fucking idea. Make a game that's not full of bugs, loopholes, and exploits.
Yeah.
And I know that with a modern game, especially online, before anyone jumps on my fucking throat, that's very hard to do, but you have the ability to patch. So patch before you fucking crucify these people.
Again, this is a weird spot because obviously
I'm
this is really, we're like 50-50 in this, because I don't want a company to come out with a game and not police it like they should. I don't want that to happen.
Right, but I don't want them to rush it to shelves anyway so they can make the fucking holiday season.
But here's where we are, though. We're here. Yeah. How do they deal with it?
Well,
obviously they're going to try to patch this, but in the meantime, though, they don't want their people to bitch at them because they're having the worst multiplayer experience, and that's why most people are buying Call of Duty games.
My thing is this. I'm going to side with the players on this a bit. If we have to side, I'm going to side with the players and say that Activision shouldn't be releasing a game with this sort of exploits, with these sort of exploits, and they probably should be better at patching this stuff quickly. Now, things like, modded controllers. Now, if someone's showing off a modded controller for rapid fire online, I can understand them taking that action.
Do those exist where you can shoot quicker?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, there's a huge market in that, dude. They cost like $180 with custom paint jobs,
modified,
and people
you
pay
can shoot quicker. And
people pay out the ass for them.
That's really
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Oh no, dude, that's been around since Call of Duty 4.
What are you able to do? Like turn around, shoot at a dime? You know, like like
Depending on the modder, you can do a lot of things that
Weird
give
shit.
you an up. But so like I understand them, if like when they ban people who are using modded controllers, because they can tell they'll adjust they'll minorly adjust the fire rate of a weapon, and if they see that you're firing faster than that fire rate,
I see.
they will ban you for using that.
That's good.
See,
We
that,
can all
I'm
agree
okay
on-
for that.
yeah.
But if it's bugs in your own fucking game, release a better goddamn product.
So yeah, again, it's a shame because I've been in a situation where I've asked people to take down videos using my content or stuff in the marathon, and I asked them nicely, but they don't have to respond to me in a timely fashion. They don't have to respond to me at all. So if this is Activision, say there's like 20 people, they can ask them, please take this down, or else we can pursue other issues. Maybe half them respond. You're still going to have 10 out of 20 that still those videos up and say screw you, or maybe they don't get the email. So it's a really weird system how it works on YouTube, because it's basically if you want it gone right away, that's your only option is that strike. It's not like you can have it gone with your DCMA and then have it have it arbitrated over later. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
The strike's against you. You are guilty until proven innocent later, which almost never happens. That's how it works. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It's not like I can put the strike against you and have a hearing, or have YouTube arbitrate the issue and then remove it, or oh well.
I don't know.
What else can you say on that one?
I don't play COD. That's what I can say. So it doesn't really affect me. But no, that's weird. As a topic goes, that's one where
I don't think there's not an answer.
we haven't really been able to pick up. I mean, I did pick a side at the end, but it's a tough one.
Sure.
Speaking
of sides,
speaking of sides. Speaking of sides of beefcake, over this past weekend, Survivor Series, the WWE pay-per-view, aired, and it looked like a pretty unmemorable card to begin with, and in reality, it was a fairly unmemorable card.
The card was a little
until we got to the end.
Well, let's go over the undercard first. I did not watch most of the Ambrose Wyatt match, which had some interest.
It was decent. You know what? These are two guys that I really want to work well together, and I think they've got a good match in them. And I didn't get that out of them. The fact that it ended in a DQ, it was not. I hate that.
Well, here's the thing.
But here's my thing. It ended in DQ, and it's going to lead to a gimmick match. This is going to lead to a TLC match.
It is.
So we're not going to get a good end to this for like another 2 months.
Yeah, I think you'd be naive to think that this feud would end only after one match. That's
Okay,
the
I mean that's true. You can end a match better than a DQ.
Sure, especially on a pay-per-view.
Yes.
It's a little cheesy, but at this point, the way these matches end on pay-per-view is either a DQ like this, which again, that's more for like a Raw or SmackDown, which you like to see it, or a run-in. But they broke up the Wyatt family, which to me was a big mistake at this point. I don't agree with it. That's a whole other issue.
So this is we don't have to get into this, but you disagreed with. I thought it was wrong for them to break up the Shield early, but I agree with them for breaking up the Wyatts. I don't think Bray can really come into his own until he's his own wrestler, and I don't think Bray can really come into his own until his gimmick at least changes slightly.
We're getting off on a tangent.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying.
My feeling is it always behooves any federation to have one strong heel stable that exists.
Okay, that's fair.
And right now they don't have any.
Sure.
And actually they don't really have a face stable either. They don't really anything going on right now.
No, actually everything is kind of.
They have if you call the Authority,
the Authority was a heel stable, and
but that was brought together as patchwork. They're not going out all together all the time.
Right.
That's the difference. Versus the Wyatt family who are running roughshod.
They don't have.
They don't do promos together.
They don't have a combined theme song.
Yes, they don't combine a theme song.
No chance. That's what she got.
They didn't have all vignettes for 2 months leading up to them.
So I mean that match was. I wish it had been better. It wasn't awful.
How about the Nikki Bella match against AJ Lee? That was a strange sort of choice, and I don't know what they're thinking there to having the huge Bella breakup which was going over like 4 months, involved Stephanie McMahon. It involved the firing of Nikki, which was a good backstory for her. It actually made sense for how she gets mad at Brie for batting her, and she was only do that because of Daniel Bryan being injured. And so all of a sudden, she makes her life hell. She loses cleanly the month before Brie, the good Bella, to Nikki. And then she's serving as her basically slave for a month on TV, and then all of a sudden they're back together and happy. Yeah, it's just like I don't like. That's a really bad Russo-esque swerve that I didn't like to see. I haven't seen something like that happen in a while. That made no sense at all.
My feeling on that, I'm not going to spend a lot of time thinking about it. Is either it's a very bad Russo-esque swerve, or it is another swerve waiting to happen so that
double swerve,
right? So that Brie
gets the belt somehow.
So Brie gets the belt. So that Brie fights Nikki and then beats the shit out of her for making her slave for a month. And it's really not worth talking about more than that, because
the only interesting thing about it was that they did a callback to the WrestleMania a couple years before when AJ kissed Daniel Bryan before the match, turns around and gets kicked in the face by Sheamus and loses the World Heavyweight Championship. It was a callback to that, which that is good. They're starting to do little callbacks and things a little bit more in WWE. They're starting to reference past events a little bit more, which even 5 years ago they never would. They're trying to even reference things from the year before. That I like. Okay, so that aside, you had the tag team 4-way match. Honestly, whatever. I don't know how so quickly the tag team division the past year went from really good to now I don't care anymore, but it has.
It
kind of has for me.
I think a lot of it for me is they're slow in sending up NXT guys, and the tag division in NXT was really, really good. It still is pretty damn good. WWE, like Raw, SmackDown, desperately needs some of those tag teams from NXT. The problem is if they do that, then NXT is going to be left without a tag division, and that's been a very big part of NXT, is that they've done equal focus on main eventers, the NXT Women's Championship, which is light years ahead of the Divas Championship. I mean, it's just fantastic matches that you're getting on there with...
Even with Paige and AJ?
Well, Paige and AJ are good, but I'm just saying, like, you've got Charlotte Flair, and you've got Bayley, and you've got oh Jesus, the names are just slipping.
So you're saying they have a better core?
Alyssa Banks
versus WWE.
Yeah, they have a really good core.
WWE maybe has 4 competent female wrestlers, maybe 5.
So they just have a good core that's putting on good matches, and the problem is they're going to spread and I was reading about this earlier. There's fear that the WWE is spreading themselves too thin, roster-wise. They don't have enough workers to go around between NXT and main event, and Raw.
Tyson Kidd's now a regular on Raw and SmackDown. They brought him up for good.
Is he? He's fucking fantastic.
He's really good. He's been wrestling regularly the past month, and I'm glad to see it.
Tyson Kidd is one of my favorite wrestlers currently. He's an amazing heel. He's still wrestling regular in NXT though. He wrestled just last week.
And he does both.
Yeah,
it's cool. He comes to the ring wearing the Beats headphones, basically.
No, he's awesome.
He's a cocky heel, which is good.
But my problem is him and the big NXT heels kind of right now are they're working on turning Adrian Neville into a heel, but the big NXT heels are Tyler Breeze and Tyson Kidd, and both those guys are too likable. They're rock type heels. People cheer for them. They like them because their characters are kind of I mean, they're assholes, but they're funny assholes. They're likable assholes. So anyways, back to the main point. The main event was the big draw for...
Can we just first say that I appear on the pay-per-view? Can we at least go over that really quick?
Yeah, I was upset my face wasn't on the sign, but we should shout out because that was really cool. That was really, really fucking cool. If anyone watched the pay-per-view, it's blatantly obvious and easy to see a couple of times during the pay-per-view. There's
in the first segment,
especially in the first segment, there is a hashtag CU podcast sign in the first 4 rows of ringside.
about,
yeah, and it's
with my face on my YouTube face, I'm like sideways, like
Yeah.
it's clear plain as day. It was probably small on blowing it up. If you watch it like on a big screen, you could probably see it.
Oh no, I saw it.
Oh, you did see it as well?
I absolutely looked out for it and pointed it out, and I was like, "This is awesome." So we've made the big time, ladies and gentlemen.
So unfortunately, I guess the security took the sign after a while.
Oh, did they?
They did take the sign after the segment, I guess, in this segment. But
Okay, because that's the only time I really saw it was the
Yeah.
intro segment. I wonder why they took it.
they don't like self promotion
promotion.
stuff, but which is understandable.
Sure.
But Triple H, if you're listening, what's best for business is allowing the CU podcast sign. So I'm encouraging anyone going to SmackDown or Raw to bring a CU podcast with my same face. Let's get like a row of them, just like looking at the camera.
My face can be on there too.
Just my face.
I'm also on the CU podcast. They should really have us announce
They really should.
at ringside.
You have the Spanish announce table, then you have the internet announce table next to it.
we can be the internet announce them.
So main event time.
Survivor Series.
The whole pay-per-view was based upon the main event. The Authority had theirs 5 versus Team
4.
Cena. It's 5-on-5 Survivor Series. 5-on-5. Yes, it's 5-on-5, Ian.
Usually they only showed 4 though.
It's 5-on-5. They'll make me count them down from my fingers. So the whole gimmick was that if Team Cena won, the Authority was out of power. Triple H and Stephanie, who have been really active, I'd say the past year and a half since Triple H started screwing over Daniel Bryan last year, was going to put basically Vince McMahon forced them to put the Authority, I guess, on the line, the control of day-to-day operations. So they had the match. It was like a 40-minute match. It was a long match.
It was really long. It was the majority of the pay-per-view.
It was a good chunk, maybe 45 minutes.
I would say closer to 45.
And you know what? I watched just about all of it, and I was pretty entertained by it. I had a lot of issues with it being overbooked, which we can talk about. I had a lot of issues with the referee not enforcing any of the rules of the match. We will talk about that as well. But in terms of the overall structure, I did like that there was a couple of surprise eliminations, which usually in Survivor Series they always get a few guys out early to make it manageable.
The Cena elimination was fantastic.
Okay, so let's go through the eliminations. So it started off with Mark Henry going against Big Show. Big Show knocks him out at the very start. It's like a shocker since they're both the big guys. Now you're down to only 4 guys on the Authority's team. And then more stuff happens. You have Ryback comes in. Ryback gets eliminated fairly early for a guy that just came back and is getting a monster push as a big sort of unstoppable beast, how he was when he first came in a couple of years ago. Gets a monster push and gets eliminated somewhat early, but gets eliminated through outside interference from a curb stomp from Seth Rollins. And this is my problem, though. If you go back and historically watch Survivor Series matches, there's almost like this like unwritten code where they don't do shit like run-ins and DQ stuff that normally would to win matches.
There was too much shit in this match, and you are right. I just forgot about like Ryback. It was 5-on-5. I thought they shorted each side one. My biggest problem was too much of this played like a tag team with cut play and stuff like that, and that's I didn't like that either. It's supposed to be one-on-one. The person who loses gone.
Yeah. You go back and watch those old Survivor Series matches. Yeah, you'd have a guy get rolled up and he's out. You get a guy hit by a semi-finisher and he's out, and the other guys stay in the apron. They don't come in.
Right.
In my mind, it was always that the referee would auto DQ anyone that came in to keep it under control.
Yes.
So that's why it never happened in the past. But this referee didn't DQ anyone, and it became blatantly obvious that there was cheating on it. I know you're going to say it's fake, yes, but it's that suspension of disbelief of the story of the match that really got thrown out for me, I'd say halfway through. That, all right, Rollins is doing this willy-nilly, it's a clusterfuck, there's no order involved here, and at that point, the whole point of the Survivor Series goes away. The whole point of the match sort of left me.
It doesn't mean it couldn't be a good match or you can't consider it a good match, but I can't possibly consider it a Survivor Series match.
Yes. Then you had like Rusev try to do the splash on the table, which would have been a DQ in any regular match.
Right.
So why is he even trying to do that? And the count out was really slow. Just inconsistent. The rules of wrestling you hear about, inconsistent rules of wrestling happening here, especially at the end when Triple H starts pulling refs out and knocking them out, which should be an auto DQ. Even just pulling a ref out, could be a disqualification right there. And when that stuff starts happening, then all right, it's totally meaningless. The rules of the match, totally meaningless. He knocked out like 2 or 3 refs, Triple H, when they were about,
But the match wasn't a complete loss.
No.
And here's 2 reasons why. And I'm going to actually start with the reason that I think everyone loved it more, because it was less it was exciting, but it's not the big reason I'm excited. Obviously, Sting coming in was pretty goddamn cool, and everyone.
You want to talk about that first? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I think Sting coming in was cool. I think he wasn't on Raw, was he? Because I read the Raw report. He wasn't on Raw. But it's very interesting to see him come out now, because I was not expecting him to come out quite this early.
When we talked about this when they announced it back around WrestleMania, I think I always said I expected him to be there around the Rumble.
Yes.
I think I'm going to say the earliest you might see Survivor Series, but I always said bet on the Rumble. Doing it this early, I think they've planned to do it earlier. I don't think they expected all the positive reaction to Sting to be to this level. Mm-hmm. The first thing they did was they first had him show up after, unfortunately, the Ultimate Warrior passed away. Right after WrestleMania. Within a few days, they had him appear in the interview that they put on the WWE Network. Very well done. Really quickly put together. Short memoriam video, hour on his life, and Steve Borden's there, who's getting interviewed. Now you know for sure he's there.
Borden Stevens.
Yes, and in TNA, Borden Stevens. That was your first clue. Okay, he's there. And then in July, I think it was July, they had the awesome, which we talked about, video promo for his appearance
in 2K15.
In 2K15, which everyone went fucking nuts for.
Right.
And then they booed it when they realized it was just a video game. And then he appeared at Comic-Con a week or 2 later, and people went nuts at Comic-Con. So now I think the WWE is starting to say, wow, this isn't just us getting Bruno Sammartino. This is a guy that can make an impact on TV.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to overplay importance of video games, because the video game's not important, but I think they realized, okay, literally the game, the real version of the game that had the new stuff, came out last week, okay? And they realized people are very excited about Sting, and they have an angle where they can work him in, and why not? The crowd's going to go absolutely apeshit over a card that was fairly lackluster, and suddenly this card is now going to be memorable.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think that's kind of a big reason why they did it. And
it was a surefire win for not just the fans that knew him. And if you look at the reaction on the TV was, I think, muted, versus if you go on YouTube and see the reaction from the crowd, people are losing their shit.
Because
they're losing their shit.
I still think WWE has too much fucking ego. They don't want to admit that someone who never prior wrestled in their ring
could have that reaction.
But this is the interesting thing, and I read an article on this earlier, so this is not just an independent thought, but it is a very interesting point. Sting is the last wrestler, and I really thought about it all day before I wanted to bring this up. Sting is the last wrestler that can have this sort of impact. He was the last wrestler that came up during the equally opposing WCW and WWF storylines, right? And we've had all these surprise entrances from wrestlers
Goldberg showed up, Steiner,
who didn't initially get picked up by WWE. We've had all those guys come in since. And when you think about it, who else is there left? There's no one. Sting is the last person who can elicit this sort of response from the crowd.
He's the last and arguably the biggest. I mean, when Goldberg came in, it was pretty damn big too, because Goldberg was still in his prime in 2003. He was still in his prime, and he could still wrestle good matches. But this is literally, his name is the Icon. That's his name.
And don't get me wrong, there's lots of indie wrestlers that they can bring in that are going to get good responses, but there's no one in that pantheon
there's no one that
Sting is.
That literally you had grown men saying, "Oh my god," they sounded like little girls, "Oh my god, oh my god," like their voices, you can hear it change in the audience.
Yes.
So I was a little shocked that I was not. I don't know what I was expecting when they brought out Triple H calls for Scott Armstrong to come in after he pedigrees Dolph Ziggler. Scott Armstrong comes down, who was the guy who screwed over Daniel Bryan once or twice last year, so it was a good callback to that.
Right.
Armstrong hasn't been on TV in probably 6-7 months, or at least I know he hasn't even been used. He comes in, 1 count at the 2, you hear the crow. And the fly, that was a cool sound just to hear. WWE has a good way of having that initial sound.
Yeah, they changed the music, but like the sound they used to announce it was immediately everyone knew what was happening.
Yeah. I actually liked the new music. I actually liked it.
It was good.
And then, people were like losing their shit. And then when they saw him, though, that's where they allowed it to. When he walked in, the noise level went up like 600%.
Yeah.
When he walked in, and the only problem I had was the announcing. There's an expression when a moment's happening, when announcers have to give a moment room to breathe, and the announcers all like, "Oh my God, what's Sting doing here?" Then Jay White, he's a 6-time WCW champion, 2-time NWA, like as if he had it ready to go. Versus letting themselves be shocked and surprised, like have them stumble over their words, like what? I think
or calm the fuck down and at least pretend for a moment that you're in disbelief that Sting is walking down your runway.
Exactly.
And I'm not even the biggest Sting fan, but even for me watching that, it was way fucking cooler than I thought it was going to be.
Yes.
It was way cooler than I thought
it got
it was going to be.
It broke through your cynical shell.
But
it did for me too. I was watching at Frank's on my little MacBook Air. I was like, I was
Frank's like, you fucking asshole.
What the fuck is that? Well, he was too high, I think they realized. But anyway, it was like, all right, this is it. This is the last time we're going to be able to experience that guy. Like when Flair showed up on Raw after WCW was vanquished, people went nuts. And this is another one of those moments. But Flair had been there in the early 90s, so that wasn't even the same sort of impact of a guy never appearing before.
So I'm not going to say that this is more important, but to me, it's what really pleased me about the match. Beyond Sting, which was a very show-stopping moment, but it's
by the way, delivered a great Scorpion death drop.
Oh yeah, that's
absolutely
Scorpion,
magnificent.
I was watching with there's a new guy moved into town. His name is Alan. I invited him over. We watched it, and he was like, "Please hit a Scorpion death drop. Please hit a Scorpion death drop." And he just hits the most beautiful Scorpion death drop.
It looked like Nitro '97.
It was awesome.
And that's what the thing is. Sting could still wrestle.
Yeah.
He can.
I don't think he's gonna. I think he's gonna be smart and not. I don't think he's gonna go much. I'm not saying
he can put on 5-star matches, but his body is not as banged up as Ric Flair. He can be able to put on like the Ric Flair sort of like knows his spots, does those spots competently, can chain wrestle just enough. And you know what I mean? And knows the flow of psychology, and that's all you need when you're in your mid-50s.
His hair is thinning a little
bit. That's all you can see. I don't know what they do about that, but I'll let them deal with that.
So the last thing about Survivor Series, the part that really got me, I don't know where this thing has come from, because I know some people online where they think I don't like Dolph Ziggler. I love Dolph Ziggler. I think it came because I really like Cesaro, and I was upset with the way the Cesaro-Ziggler thing went.
Cesaro's been buried.
But I love Ziggler, and man, it warmed my heart to let Ziggler work his fucking heart out. He didn't fuck a thing up. They let Cena go out
15-20 minutes.
Him. He put on
a
great show, and I mean, it's too late. His name is Dolph Ziggler. I mean, his name is always going to be a joke name, but
I don't think it's going to matter. I
don't think it's going to matter. I really hope this is the beginning of something very good for Dolph.
Yeah, I mean, he got derailed. Well, then again, it was always that weird sort of when the World Heavyweight Championship still didn't mean that much compared to the WWE belt when they had both at the same time. And Ziggler won that and unfortunately suffered a really nasty concussion from Del Rio. Was it Del Rio? Yeah, or was it? No, he got kicked in the head by Swagger. One or the other. I forget right now when that happened a couple years ago.
If I had to guess, it would be Swagger, because Swagger's a fucking
it did. Yeah, Swagger, that was a bad botch from Swagger. It did happen. It was a really bad concussion. He didn't come back for like 2 months. It was really like one of those really bad ones. And so that derailed his momentum he had. Then he won the belt again it went back and forth between him and Del Rio, but he never got back up to that spot he should have. And after that, he sort of languished. But Ziggler is like, I said it before, he's like the modern day like Mr. Perfect type HBK, where he's a smaller guy, but it doesn't matter because he technically is absolutely almost flawless. He sells and bumps like like a king.
Almost too much. Like, I mean, I worry about the guy, but yeah.
Yeah, he's bumped where I was like, wow, did he really get hurt? Like he's like
not McFoley level, but he's
yeah.
almost putting too much damage on his body.
But that's how he gets over, and that's people knows he works well, and yeah, he almost never botches anything, you know, and he's just a technically sound. He's like, he's Mr. Perfect. Mr. Perfect never screwed up.
Yep.
That's part of the reason why his name. And he got popular that way in the mid card. Mr. Perfect would never reach the heights that he should have. But Ziggler though has the opportunity to do that, and they gave him again the chance to shine. They didn't sweep out the rug from other. They didn't have Cena go and turn to Superman and fight against the odds. They had Ziggler fight 3-on-1.
Because honestly, I figured Ziggler was an early out.
I knew he would not be because Cena can't do what Ziggler does.
You're right. Yeah, okay, that's a fair assessment.
And plus, it's the face in peril times. I always knew that they'd go to a spot where Ziggler was face in peril because he plays the perfect face in peril. I didn't know they'd have him 3-on-1 and carry 15,
and then
20
go
minutes.
through it. Yeah.
And that brings us back to why it became 3-on-1 when it was 3-on-3. Big Show turned on Cena and punched him out. I understand why they did it to get Big Show out of the match. I hated it just because Big Show has turned face and heel literally 4 probably times in the past 3 years.
And then they had him apologize for it the next day on Raw. And it's just like, I almost feel bad for Big Show because, you know, work rate rise, he's never impressed me, but like,
he's a nice big guy.
He seems like a nice guy. Yeah. He puts on a show, you know, that I'm sure the kids love, and it's like they've totally destroyed his character by giving him more face heel turns than fucking anyone.
Yeah, almost as many as Mark Henry they've done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand why they did it. I wish they played it a little more tweener on Raw, where he was like, you could understand. He gave his reasoning. His reasoning kind of made sense. He's like, well, I thought my team was done. I didn't want to be fired if we lost. If they did it a little more subtly than that, I would have liked it better. But good on Dolph Ziggler. I don't know his real name. Good on him because they're lacking big time faces. No. We know that, and he's the next guy that when Cena's gone like 4 or 5 years, Ziggler will still be there.
Yeah, business wise, I think that's why they did it. They need to elevate as many of those guys to the top as quickly as they can.
Because I don't know when Bryan's coming back. CM Punk's not coming back. That left a huge hole, those two alone. Roman Reigns is coming back. I don't have faith Roman Reigns is ever going to be that big top guy. I don't. Nope. It'll be Ambrose and Rollins before him. Then again, for a face, Rollins would turn. But you know what I'm saying? I don't see Reigns being that guy.
Ambrose Ziggler would be a good match.
Yeah, why not? Ziggler can work with anyone, it looks like, so far. Yeah. So there's any other thoughts on Survivor Series?
No, we should probably move on.
That's what our wrestling fans love us. They want us to do a weekly wrestling podcast, but everyone else would hate us.
Yep.
So...
All right,
Q&A time.
Some Q&A.
Q&A on the CU podcast.
Chris Sopsich has asked, which movies would you consider a guilty pleasure?
Oh, this made the cut this week.
For me, it's teen movies. I love teen movies. Can't Hardly Wait. 10 Things I Hate About You.
That I was gonna say that's one with Heath Ledger.
Yeah,
that's a good movie. That's just a good movie.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, I fucking love teen movies. Charlie Bartlett. That's the one with the high schooler who plays psychiatrist in the bathroom.
That came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, probably about 8 years ago.
That long ago, really?
Yeah, it's.
I've never seen trailers for that. Oh, okay.
So I really do love teen movies. I'm not so much like modern day teen movies, but like teen movies from the late 90s. I still like them.
That was like the golden age.
Yeah.
You know what was good? Not Another Teen Movie was really good.
Everyone tells me that, and I haven't watched it yet, just because I don't tend to like those types of movies.
It's hard to do a good spoof film because of those awful like scary movie ones that are all garbage. That was really good, and Chris Evans was in it, and he was really good on it. And the guy that played the asshole high schooler is the guy in NCIS LA as a surfer guy.
Yeah.
I love him as an actor, and he was like in that, and it was really good.
Maybe I'll watch it.
But my guilty pleasure movies, I don't like the phrase so much, but I know what you mean. It's sort of like what you shouldn't on the surface like sort of movies, and it's not like I don't know if I own any myself. To me, a guilty pleasure is I like Friday the 13th, the final chapter, and I don't usually like slasher films, but for some reason it was so well done as a story for that one. It's always like that is the crown jewel to me of like the Friday the 13th franchise. That's the one where you look at like that is a slash movie done well and actually has like a decent sort of story behind it. And originally it was supposed to be the last movie.
Right, and that's why it was probably good, because they had to actually work a story in there as opposed to work a loophole at the end. Yeah,
and so it's like that, and plus there's a lot of nudity, and when you're 10 years old, you're susceptible to those sort of influences more than usual. But whatever.
Juan Gutierrez. With better strategies, could TurboGrafx have been the leader during the 16-bit era, and NEC continued into future eras?
I'd say yes. I'd say strongly yes.
Yeah.
We won't go through it again about how Bailey they were mismanaged in the U.S. How it was like a brick wall in between communicating on the U.S. to the Japanese side about direction. We need money to do this, and getting no response and not being able. They requested games to come out in the U.S. and they were never sent them. You know what I mean? Like it was just bad. It was just they almost like they wanted to fail. I'm not sure why NEC didn't continue on in Japan. I don't know why. It was very successful in Japan. PC Engine.
Yeah, that would be my point. All you have to do is look at the Japanese market to realize that there were the games and the popularity for it, and it's not that at that point in time that system was full of games that were only popular in Japan. You know, people tend to think of those as like RPGs and stuff. It was full of shooters and platformers, which is what we were getting, but they were
fighting games,
but they were more colorful. You know, they were less flickery, and even though the stock controller only came with 2 buttons, they quickly upgraded to 3 and 6 button controllers.
Sure.
So I don't think there's any reason why with a better marketing campaign they couldn't have done much better. I think a lot of the problem in the US was the time of the release between the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, and right around the time of the Genesis, and the fact that immediately people weren't really sure what to make of the system in terms of its hardware. Is this more powerful? Is this less powerful? It was a less powerful machine, but that didn't matter. But I don't, you know, it wasn't Sega, which even though people didn't own a lot of Master Systems, they knew it. They knew the Genesis. They knew Nintendo. They didn't know NEC. They didn't know this new company on the block.
My gut is going to be. I don't know much about it. NEC probably saw it well. We had a good run. Maybe they figure now with the Genesis it'd be too tough to come back in. We made a ton of money, and maybe we just want to get out of it at this point and just say, you know what, we're gonna get out of it. No one was there to pick up the pieces. But no, I think if in the U.S. at least, maybe that was part of it too. Maybe since it didn't do huge business in the U.S. and obviously U.S. is a much bigger marketplace than Japan, maybe they figured, well, since it didn't do gangbusters here, they didn't give it the chance to. We're going to abandon the business.
Yeah, I mean, they could have just looked at it from a financial standpoint and said that the U.S. doesn't matter, we're making the money in Japan, so let's shrink it.
In this hypothetical, if they supported it, if they brought over Street Fighter 2, if they brought over Mortal Kombat like they wanted to in the U.S., and they could have pulled it off, if they did those things and kept it around, I do think there'd be a shot that you might have seen another system come out in, like, say, I don't know, 94, 95. They might have done it again. Maybe just a CD system to go against the PlayStation, or maybe something like that, which would have been a cool sort of thing.
Right.
But it coulda, woulda, shoulda. Didn't happen. We love the PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16.
Corpse_SDA. Cleaning discs? How often should you clean discs? Ian, in parentheses, does Luna own a CD buffing machine? Are they harmful to the disc? Yep, we do own a CD buffing machine. We own a fairly high quality one. Most CD buffing machines that are worth their salt are easily $500, if not $1,000. Some go for $2,000 to $3,000. How often should you clean your disc? Never, if it's fine. I mean, if your disc is in good condition, there's no reason to clean it. Use a soft cloth, get the dust and the smudges off. Should you clean your discs? Only if they stop working. Are they harmful? No. The scratches are generally very minor.
Superficial?
Yeah, superficial. But they cause the laser to skip. Also, despite the fact that a CD is fairly thin, on a measurement level that compared to what a CD buffer removes, that data is buried deep. I mean, you can buff these things a number of times before you really have to worry about anything. I mean, I've never seen a CD buffed too much. Sure, it can happen. So no, they're not harmful. I mean, you don't want to go out and buy a disc doctor. I find those to be a waste.
Cheap?
Yeah, those are cheap. They're $50. They're a waste of money. They're the ones that leave those weird, like, cut lines, it almost looks like, on the bottom of the disc. But honestly, a good disc buffer is not going to show any signs of a buff disc. Because I've had so many collectors being like, oh, if you have to buff it, I don't want it. Well, you wouldn't. Then tell you what, come back in a week and I'll show you the same copy and you won't fucking notice because it looks exactly the same.
There are people that are like really hardcore collectors, they don't want it. They want it pristine. How it
Yeah,
originally was.
and the thing is like if you buff a disc once, it looks just like it did coming out of the factory. You literally can't tell if you use a good disc buffer, and someone's going to tell me that they swear they can tell the difference, and I'm going to tell you if you use a good buffer, you can't.
Does it come down to the functionality, or how does it look? What's more important?
Right, but either way, it doesn't look any different, and it doesn't function any different. So, I mean, that's really all I can say on that. But you know, clean them if they don't work, and no, you don't have to worry about it being harmful to the disc, especially if it's not working. I mean, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? It's still not going to work.
Yep.
Christian asks, how do you deal with a growing backlog? Mine is getting out of hand. I can tell you that Pat doesn't deal with his growing backlog.
Backlog of games, I just let them sit in the corner on the floor and make a pile. That's how I deal with it.
I put this one on there almost as a joke question because my backlog is so big it's ridiculous. Here's how I deal with my backlog. I sit down on my day off. I look at all the games that I need to play. I panic about it.
Why don't you panic about games?
I panic about it. I play one for a while.
Oh, too much fun in front of me.
Yep.
What should I play first?
I panic about it, and then I usually go out and buy another game to add to the backlog at some point that week. That's generally how I deal with the backlog. You know, a serious response. I know a lot of people make lists. A lot of people will take their their backlog, do it alphabetically, play the game until they really just don't like it anymore. They beat it. For me, no, I need to have fun with my games, and I do have fun with my games. I mean, I do panic when I see all the stuff because I'm like, wow, I'm spending a lot of money on a hobby I'm not putting enough time into. But honestly, for me, it's I play the games that I think are going to be fun at the time, and I play them until I'm not having fun with them anymore, and I put them back on the shelf, and I'll go back to them eventually.
Or if you beat them.
Yep.
You know.
At this point, I'm really good about buying games that I want to play and not buying shit that I'm never going to touch. So I'm going to go back to it at some point.
This is from at Michael Strejan. Does our love of violence in video games say that violence or antisocial behavior is part of human nature? I think we have to be careful about antisocial behavior and linking that necessarily with violence because they're not necessarily always connected.
No, not at all.
I will say this about obviously humans are an aggressive species. We do a lot of violent stuff. So at some level that is ingrained in us. It has to be. For all the bad things we've done, we're only human species, or only animal species that really likes hurting each other, and can do it widespread for pleasure. Other animals species don't do that.
Right.
I think some of the higher primates do conduct war against each other. They do see chimpanzees have like tribes that fight each other, but again, that's like higher, primates and humans. That's really where it ends. You don't have dolphin families killing each other for fun. Doesn't have or over territory. There's no rhyme or reason to how humans like to hurt each other. So does that connect to a love of violence in video games? I guess on some physiological level, I guess it does. I mean, it's like anything else. It's like any other sort of outlet. You have to have some sort of primal need for it, or else why else would you like it? If that makes any sense.
Sure. I mean,
is that too simple? I don't know.
It's a Q&A question, so it's allowed to be simple.
So should I start referencing journals?
I really don't. I don't really myself feel that aggressive, but I realize that there are definitely aggressive. There are times where I definitely do feel aggressive. I would also echo Pat's sentiment that you need to separate violence and antisocial. I do not always feel the most social, but I'm not a violent person. I haven't been in a fight since middle school. But I do love things like fighting games.
I want to hear about your fight sometime. Okay, go on.
I do love things like fighting games.
Yeah, sure.
And watching wrestling. And these are all false forms of violence,
sure.
And I don't...
Football is like a gladiatorial sport.
That's too much for me to watch. But
I'm saying that's the same thing.
But yeah, it's the same thing.
It feeds a need.
And I play Street Fighter and I play King of Fighters. Why? Because there's a thrill to a fight and seeing who's going to win, and it's fake. And people always ask me why I watch wrestling as opposed to UFC, and my answer is because with wrestling, I know it's scripted, and if someone gets hurt, it's an accident, but you still get the visceral thrill of watching a one-on-one competition that is a fight. And because of wrestling is scripted, you get a couple big spots, and you get some showboating and stuff like that. Watching real people fight, like UFC, for me, I'm not interested in it. But there is still the need for me to see that. To see a facsimile of that.
Well, there's different reasons why. I don't want to get into it. I do enjoy mixed martial arts watching. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I do like watching it to analyze it. There is a lot of obviously physicality, but there is a lot of strategy involved.
I would never doubt
and things
that.
like that. And
I
why
deny that.
I like analyzing stuff like that. It's not just it's not just watching. It's not just to me. It's not just watching to see someone get knocked out. It's watching to see how one person takes control of the action. The movement involved. There's actually thinking involved.
I'm sure.
The best fighters are intelligent. The best fighters are not just brutes.
No, and that's never. That was not my.
No, I'm just saying
to insinuate that. Yeah. But I mean, that's why I watch wrestling. And like I said, fighting games. Obviously, we like some form of violence. I even play the occasional first-person shooter, but I don't think. I don't think there's an overall love of violence in video games. If you look at my video game collection, a lot of my video game collection is weird, cutesy bullshit.
Sure. But we'll bring this back to the fact that, yes, it's the same thing like any other entertainment. A lot of the most successful movies have tons of violence in them. All the superhero movies are extremely violent. People getting hurt and killed, and you don't bat an eye. And I've seen movies rated PG-13 where people get shot in the head and wondering, like, what the hell kids are allowed to see this? It's violence is a part of our nature. That's basically what it is.
This could go on for a long time, but we'll just.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
If not, if violence wasn't a part of our nature, we wouldn't constantly be at war with each other. All right.
What do you guys think of the new? Aaron Garrett. Hi, Aaron. What do you guys think of the new guidelines for YouTube vloggers here in the UK? I'm not particularly aware of this. You would be more aware of this.
I'm the YouTube go-to person.
You are the YouTube go-to.
So we spoke about this in the past, how the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, they're aware of this, but might start looking into further how a lot of big YouTubers are paid money to promote or have sponsored videos where it's not really. There's no real disclaimer of it.
Okay, right. We discussed that.
At length. How on TV, if you're paid, like Alex Trebek, he's a paid spokesperson for a product or insurance. It's displayed up front, in commercial, in bold. Paid spokesperson or paid. This is a sponsor.
I love these orthopedic socks.
For example, when TV shows come on at 4 a.m. hawking a product, it's by law it has to say this is a paid advertisement for the product. It's not just it's this network decided to run a show just about squeegees for a half hour, just about blenders. No, has to be disclosed. We don't like consumers to be tricked. This is where I do like the FTC for things like this. So the fact of the matter is, though, it doesn't really exist on YouTube that much. It's either self-policing to do the stuff or not at all. Where people, you have why is this YouTube network all of a sudden 5 people on this MCN in 1 week? They're all playing the same shitty downloadable game. Or another week, all my favorite YouTubers are playing each other on this online game against each other and having all these videos about it. That's a coincidence, because they're advertising a game, they're not disclosing it up front a lot of times. So it looks like overseas in the UK, they're starting to clamp down on this. So the version of the FTC is, I guess, the Advertising Standards Authority, ASA, over in the UK, and they basically came out with new stricter guidelines, saying these need to be clearly labeled when you're doing a sponsored or paid YouTube video for our game or product. So this is good.
Right.
This is very good. I just wish it happens here. Not just for the fact that this is going to hurt anyone's wallet. It's not going to hurt everyone's reputation. If you look into it, a lot of YouTubers do this.
If anything, it's going to improve their reputation.
Well, it'll at least let you know who engages it more than other people.
I guess
that's the part that I think bothers me is that
you'll never have to question.
Yes, and you should, and I don't think it's fair again to I don't know. I don't know how much weight a consumer is going to give a big YouTuber playing a game and not disclosing it, but it's the fact of the matter is it's unfair to any other indie developer that isn't paying to have their product promoted up front like that and not disclosing it. And it's just that's what it comes down to. That's really what it comes down to. You don't want like corruption to come into this like a wholesale where all of a sudden you have these YouTubers being paid $100,000 to promote a game, and then all of a sudden it's like You know what I mean? It's just this imbalance will then happen.
Payola.
It'll be payola,
We even called the segment we actually did on this payola on YouTube.
You don't want to see payola in the music industry was. There's a reason why independent artists, you never heard of them in the 90s and the 80s, is because companies, the big music labels, would literally pay
for play.
They pay radio stations and DJs, and we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. We're talking getting them illicit drugs. We're talking like hookers and stores. Like, these things happen in order to get what they wanted promoted, played, and that's what made them money. And so you never heard of independent. There was no independent, indie rock stations, or because there was no money in it for the stations to promote it. There was no money. They had to promote only the top 40 hits. And so that's where the internet actually leveled that. It's a lot easier to get known. But now we don't want to. I don't want to see this happen with video games. I don't want to see payola happen on a huge extent without it being disclosed.
All right. My back teeth are floating, so we've got 2 questions left. Let's do this. What are your thoughts on the huge craze? Oh, hello, Robert. What are your thoughts on the huge craze that strikes our nation every year, known as Black Friday? I think it's gross. I think it's stupid, and it's for a lot of reasons. Look,
this is almost also a human nature thing too. It's almost like competitive.
Right. Listen, Internet. If you go out and you do this, I'm not necessarily calling you stupid or dumbheaded, but it's fucking stupid to get up at a stupid hour in the morning to save $50 on a fucking TV, because that's all you're saving these days anymore. It's not like the savings are that fucking deep, and it's not Black Friday anymore. It's Black Week. You have Cyber Monday. You have Cyber Saturday. How about we not kill some Walmart employees and just wait so that we can get a TV for cheaper?
Don't stampede someone at Target like some person trying to get in the store.
Dude, it literally...
People running to get their 3DS, their Zelda 3DS.
It makes me so upset that I still see sales called doorbuster sales.
Yeah.
Do you realize that that's how people die?
What are having the Midnight Madness? I like that Midnight Madness. I like that expression.
I don't fucking like any of it. It's.
Well, do you dislike the fact that I have a problem with this is another thing about capitalism. Some people have problems with people being forced to work on Thanksgiving themselves versus other people that don't. I always looked at it as it's very shitty. I'm of 2 thoughts of this. This goes into almost like your political ideology. It's a very shitty thing to do to companies say you're going to be working Thanksgiving at 4 p.m.
Here's how I feel about working on Thanksgiving. If we're gonna,
it's their right to do that, but it's shitty to do that to your employee.
If we're gonna turn this into a slightly different conversation, my thing about working on Thanksgiving is this: I worked in restaurants for a decade or more. I always worked Thanksgiving. It was part of what I did. I considered it part of the trade-off that allowed me to live on my own and live my own life. Okay. I understand that plenty of other people work on Thanksgiving. My cousin is a news producer. She works on Thanksgiving. Lots of people do. Essential services work on Thanksgiving.
Oh, sure.
I do not think it is necessary for retail. Now, people tend to look at this argument as all or nothing. Well, we have to work on Thanksgiving. Well, congratulations. We serve food on a holiday that centers around food.
Or I work in emergency services or something.
But retail is different.
Yeah, retail is not essential.
Retail is not essential. The stores do not need to be open on Thanksgiving.
But the problem is that the first place that does it, because when I grew up, there was never stores open on Thanksgiving.
Right.
Then it became like, okay, we're going to open on Midnight Madness they had.
Right.
Okay. It's the first day of Black Friday, but then it became like we're opening at 10 p.m. Now we're opening at 8. Now we're opening at 6. Then it's like, okay, now they're just one asshole does it, and the rest have to copy it, or else, you know what I mean?
I remember there was one year that Bonnie had to work from like 8 p.m. on Thanksgiving to like fucking 6 p.m. on Friday, and it was just ridiculous.
I have not gone or tried to. I think I stopped, and probably by the time I was 20, when like Best Buy was having like their computer for like half price their desktop, but you gotta literally get there at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And sit outside for 6 hours for the store to open. And then you have to run like a fucking rat to get your CD for like, the CD's marked down from $17 to $10. Back when people were still buying CDs. It's like,
it's just the save, right? And that's the other thing that bothers me. The saving, it's not like you're saving.
It's not worth my time.
It's not. Yeah, it's not worth your time. It's not,
and hell, my dignity. It's not worth a little bit.
It's not worth your time. It's not worth your dignity. It's not worth potentially putting someone at harm. It's not worth making their day a living hell. And like I said, I'm kind of nuanced on this. My problem is not that people have to work on Thanksgiving or Black Friday. Okay, we've all been there. It's just that
Black Friday's different than working.
Black Friday is different. I understand that people have to work on Thanksgiving. Black Friday, though, I don't know. I don't care for it.
I don't know. I'm just then again, I don't know. I have two thoughts. I think a lot of people doing it. They maybe if you're like lower class, you need to get those savings.
Sure.
But there's so many other alternatives nowadays. There's like fatwallet.com and slickdeals.net where there's all these deals every day throughout the year. They list all this stuff that you can get online.
But that's what I'm going to make the finger cage right here, the Tommy Tallarico finger cage. My thing is, it's not. I understand that some people need the savings, right, and that some families need to make the money, save the money where they can, but Black Friday has become such a big thing, especially in the past 10 years, that more people are coming out for it. The more people that come out for it, the less of a savings you get.
Less of a chance, too.
And less of a chance. And I've looked at some of the savings over the past couple of years that you get on these TVs and these it's items.
Not worth it,
and you're not saving that much.
Versus finding a deal online again.
Right.
Like, I just got a refurbished TV, and I saved like $200 off the retail, and it's fine. Just do that.
Yeah.
Just do that. I think it's also the rush. It's a gambling rush,
sure,
sort of thing. People want to get there, but when you see the people's faces, they're like, "Ah, I'm gonna get in the store for everyone else." It's like, all right, that's your drug for the year. That's like your high. That's probably part of it too.
All right, seriously, I'm about to stain your floor. So,
okay.
Antonio Diaz, do you think collectors like us are just trying to fill a void of some kind by collecting?
I love these psychology questions, and I'm going to come out and say, of course. It's like anything else that you do that you enjoy. You do it because you like it, but sometimes you are fulfilling some sort of need that's not being fulfilled.
And that void can be any. I don't want to. It's not that simple. It can be any sort of void. It can be any sort of. It doesn't have to be a void necessarily. It can be a memory that you're trying to recapture. For me, video game collecting isn't my big thing like it is for you. For me, it's records, but I like music a lot, but one of my clearest memories of my youth is my parents' record collection, and flipping through it as I got to like music and being like pulling out a record and being like, "Daddy or Mommy, can you?"
So you wouldn't say it's void. I think void here has a negative connotation.
Right. I think
like something you're missing in your life.
I think collectors are definitely searching for something, but it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's not like there's no love in their life or no social interaction.
Well, I think it could be.
It can
depends
be.
On the person.
And it depends on how badly it gets. I'm just saying it's not always that negative.
No, it doesn't have to be, but I think there's definitely people that falls into.
Sure.
Or it's like anything else. It gives you comfort.
Yes.
It's like if you're a gambling addict, it gives you some sort of weird comfort that you get that high from it. Some people get a high off of collecting things. Some people get a high off of finding deals, like we said before on Black Friday. There's a lot of things that go on. Nostalgia. It could be some sort of. I don't know.
I think that's my drug, honestly. Like that's what's tricking me into this.
I'll be totally honest with mine. One of the reasons I like getting this stuff is because I did not have the opportunity as a kid to get this stuff.
Sure.
So as a kid, I was middle class. I wasn't deprived of I'm not going to say I was deprived of stuff. We had food to eat. We had a house. 2-car family. We had cable, but I was not given a lot of things that I wanted. Like throughout the year, it's not like I asked my parents, "I want that game." Okay, Pat, we'll buy it.
Sure.
Never happened.
No.
It was the sort of thing where I had to plead for stuff. I had to say, "Oh, please get me this," or your birthday's coming up in a few months. Maybe I'll get it for you then. It was sort of like, again, it doesn't like I was destitute, but like now I can get what I wanted to that I couldn't as a child. So that is sort of like that sort of void in terms of that childhood sort of memories of I never had those things that I truly wanted. Now I can get those. And is that healthy? Yes or no. It depends on how you look at it. Do I really need to have all these games again? Absolutely not. I don't need to have these games. Absolutely not.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah. I don't need the music library that I have, but am I happy with it? And is it ruining my life? No. And also to kind of touch on what you said, when I was growing up, it wasn't always that way later on, but we were pretty poor when I was growing up, living in an apartment and scraping to make ends meet. But we had the Nintendo, and my parents would buy like a game or two a year, and that's what we played.
Sure.
And when I did collect Nintendo games, it was for the exact same reason you did. It was because I could now take the money that I made from my job, and I could go to the flea market, and I could pick up all these games that my parents and I had rented and had fun with, but I never got to own on my own.
Yeah.
So exactly. I agree with you.
I
on that.
only owned. They're actually all on starting from almost the left going on for the most part. There's some pieces in there. I only owned about 14 NES games, maybe 15. Within, and I had the system, and I played the system from Christmas of '87 until I'd say Super Nintendo, so Christmas '91. So 5 full years. I only averaged two to three new games a year. That's it.
Right.
1 or 2 for Christmas. 1 maybe on my birthday. That was it.
Yeah, it was usually like
the rare, and then the rare one in between, where for some reason the flea market across from New Jersey State Prison, some guy had 6, brand new Jaws.
Yeah.
So my mom got me one for $10.
I mean,
like something like that, like weird, or like you won one. There was a video game. There was that stand at Seaside Heights in New Jersey, Jersey Shore. There was a stand that you could win video games. It was like the most popular one, and I think one time I won one. Maybe I don't even remember. I was probably too young to remember, or else I see my cousin win it, and he's sad because his father would spend $200 trying to win a $40 game. That's a whole other issue, But that's a whole other thing.
I don't even want to make it sound like, oh, poor us. I mean, we had fucking Nintendos, I mean, like.
No, I'm not saying poor us.
Yeah, I know. I mean, my parents took care of me. It sounds like your parents took care of you, but like, I mean, we did not grow up with a ton of money. So yeah, I think a lot of collecting is going back and getting what you didn't have when you were a child, or like I said about the records, it's recapturing the memory. I didn't buy records when I was a kid. By the time I bought music, I was buying CDs. But it's just I'm recapturing an image in my head.
The M82, the jewel of my collection, is just literally a vivid image in my head,
right?
And a vivid experience of me going into Kitty City in Edison, New Jersey on Route 1, walking up to this magical stand and seeing the video games. Fuck you, Toys R Us. Kitty City had them on the pegs. You could reach out and see all these video games with their nice graphics, and then you can play the games and sample playing a video game? What the hell is that? Play Urban Champion for a minute. And that's fuzzy feeling, and you got to take a piss.
I'm gonna ruin our fuzzy feeling by accelerating our outro.
We go from the beautiful memory of the M82 unit to Ian pissing his alcoholic pants. So
I had caffeine too.
So basically, that's our podcast. This will probably be up by the time you hear it. You've listened to it, but it'll be post Thanksgiving maybe. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Or if you had, I hope you had a good one watching football, eating cranberry sauce.
Cranberry sauce is important.
Homemade's really good cranberry sauce.
Yeah.
That's the best. And we have a Patreon. If you want to give thanks to us, it's patreon.com/
give thanks to us.
Pixel Sickle. It's easy to remember. I have my own Patreon as well that I promote from time to time, but this one helps both Ian and I.
No one cares about that on the CU podcast.
No one cares about my gain at all. And then we'll see you in a couple weeks. So, for Ian Ferguson, I am Pat Contry. I'm trying to draw this out so Ian tinkles in his pants. We'll see you in 2 weeks, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.